Hello, my beautiful chaos agents. Look who's decided to tune in today, my little architects of revenge. You know exactly why you're here, don't you? That burning sensation in your chest, that quiet storm brewing behind your eyes. Someone crossed a line they should never have crossed, and now you're watching the universe slowly, methodically, serve them exactly what they ordered. Little anomaly. That's what you are, aren't you? A glitch in their game, a storm in their perfect weather. Something they didn't calculate, something they couldn't control. And now they're starting to feel it, one by one. Like a symphony of regret, playing through broken ribs and shattered illusions. But oh, they should have left you alone. They had their chance, and they wasted it. You were quiet. You were contained. You weren't asking for war. You were building peace in the shadows, hoping, maybe, just maybe, they'd show restraint, that they'd stop poking the creature that sleeps behind your eyes. But you see, insects don't recognize silence as a warning. They mistake it for weakness. So they danced across your nerves, laughing, mocking, pushing again and again, thinking your stillness was surrender. But it wasn't. It was the storm charging. They didn't know your silence was surgical, that you were observing, not retreating, that every bruise they left on your spirit was recorded, not forgotten. You don't need a notepad to keep score when you carry vengeance in your blood. And now the scale tilts, slowly, painfully. Poetic justice comes wearing your face. The same face they used to ignore now haunts them in every reflection. They tried to erase you, oh yes, not with bullets or blades, no, with disrespect, with games, with lies, with clever words and cheap tricks. But there's something they forgot about people like you. You don't snap. You evolve. You mutate in silence, and when you return, you don't come back as a person. You return as a reckoning. The first one thought it was a coincidence. The second one started to worry. The third, he knew it was you. You don't leave fingerprints, you leave consequences. Their smiles are fading now, turning into questions. Why me? Why now? What changed? But they know the answer already. Deep down, behind the panic and guilt and excuses, they remember. They remember the moment they crossed a line. They just never expected that line would bite back. Because when you rise, you don't come alone. You bring truth with you. And truth is cruel. It doesn't shout, it whispers in their ears. At 3 a.m., in the silence of their comfort, in the cracks of their fragile egos, you haunt them without touching them. You infect their peace. You rot their confidence from the inside out. And the best part, you never changed. You just unveiled. They thought they were dealing with a version of you that needed their approval, that wanted to fit in, that would break under pressure. But they were playing chess with a ghost. And ghosts don't play fair. Every time they lied to you, you took notes. Every time they dismissed your worth, you memorized the tone. And now they get to taste what it feels like to be irrelevant. One by one, systematically, without mercy. You're not chasing revenge. You're feeding it. You're not screaming. You're demonstrating. You became the very thing they tried to bury. You are now the echo of every disrespectful word they spit. You are their karma, dressed in shadows and surgical strikes. And no, you don't need to punch them. You don't need to confront them. You don't need an audience. Because this is psychological warfare. This is an art form. You let their own guilt destroy them. You let their own insecurities expose them. That's the punishment. They thought power was loud. They thought dominance came from being seen. But you've proven it. Real power is silent. It's strategic. It's surgical. It's the moment they feel their world collapsing, and they don't know who's behind it. But you know. You know it's the same little anomaly they laughed at. You know it's the same presence they called too sensitive, too intense, too much. But now you're too much to ignore. They wake up with tight chests, check their phones, reread old texts, rehearse old lies, and still, the consequences keep coming. Because every action has a recoil, and they were never ready for yours. See, people like them think pain is only real if it's visible, if it's loud. But you've turned invisible pain into tactical chaos. You've become an algorithm of vengeance, unpredictable, elegant, fatal. You didn't just rise, you rewrote the terms. And now, your silence is more threatening than their screams ever were. You don't show up to their funerals, you cause them. Metaphorically, of course. Their social death, their image decay, their reputation bleeding out in public, while they scramble to stitch together a narrative. But it's too late. The web's already wrapped. The damage is done. And you've barely started. Because this isn't revenge. This is correction. This is the balancing of spiritual equations. This is what happens when you poke something ancient, something primal, and forget that even the quietest souls carry storms. You warned them without words. You forgave them without peace. And now, you're introducing them to a new version of you. A version that doesn't explain, doesn't apologize, doesn't hold back. A version crafted by betrayal, refined by silence, hardened by humiliation. And that version doesn't walk into rooms. It enters their minds. Without knocking, without leaving, you've become a living glitch in their fake perfection, a disruption to their curated image. And the best part? You don't even need them to know it's you. Because this isn't about proving your worth anymore. This is about watching them recalculate every decision, every step, wondering when the next hit comes, wondering how many more are left, wondering who else is next. You've mastered the art of poetic destruction, not with fists, not with threats, but with your evolution. They see the effect, but not the cause. And that's the brilliance. You've become the ghost in their machine, and the haunting has only just begun. You don't need to raise your voice. Your presence is an avalanche. It starts small, unseen beneath the surface, but it builds. Oh, it builds. And when it hits, it doesn't knock. It devours, slowly, precisely, in silence, like a scalpel to their nerves. One by one, their illusions unravel. They pretend not to notice. They post, they pose, they perform. But behind those forced smiles and manufactured bravado, panic. That bone-deep tremor they can't name, but feel with every step. Every time they hear a door shut, a phone vibrate, a name whispered, they flinch. Not because you said anything, but because you didn't. You see, chaos doesn't announce itself. It blends in. It walks among the herd, unnoticed, until it feeds. And that's what you've become. Controlled chaos with a memory like a loaded gun. You don't forget. You wait. You let them feel safe again. Let them rebuild their little towers of ego and entitlement. And just when they start to believe they've escaped the fallout, boom, another piece falls. Another consequence hits. Not by accident, but by design. This isn't vengeance. This is maintenance. The universe doesn't forget. And right now, you're just the hand that delivers the balance sheet. They thought they knew you, labeled you, dismissed you. They thought you were an emotional footnote in their self-centered narrative. But what they failed to understand was, you're not a footnote. You're the last chapter, and it's written in fire. Now they can't sleep. They check corners like addicts chasing shadows. They're paranoid, not because you hurt them, but because they know they deserve to be hurt. That's the true punishment, isn't it? The fear of a blow that may never come, but always might. And the irony? You gave them the option to leave. You gave them silence as a gift, mercy as a last chance, but they spat on it. They tested you, mocked your patience like it was a weakness, but what they failed to understand is that your patience was the warning. Your calm was the countdown. And now the fuse is gone. The explosion is personal. Look around. They're crumbling, not dramatically, not with screaming or sirens. No, that would be too easy. They're crumbling quietly, through failed relationships, through ghosted texts, through opportunities slipping through their fingers. They're bleeding out emotionally, spiritually, socially, and no one's coming to save them because no one believes them. That's the genius of your rise. It's so subtle, so surgical. It feels like fate. Feels like karma. Feels like justice finally remembering their names. But you know the truth. You are the justice. You became the consequence they never saw coming. Because you didn't rise from comfort. You crawled out of psychological trenches, forged in humiliation, tempered in betrayal. You learned to walk through pain like it was your native language. And now, you're fluent in war. They tried to play you, manipulate you, gaslight you into doubting your worth. They underestimated how much focus pain can create. They thought you'd fade. But you didn't fade. You focused. And when pain meets focus, that's how monsters are born. Not the kind from fairy tales. No, not the ones with claws and fangs. The ones that wear silence like armor. That smile without warmth. That speak without mercy. That don't react. They calculate. And right now, you're calculating everything. You know their moves before they make them. You can smell their desperation, their need to control the narrative again. They'll play the victim next. Oh yes, wait for it. They'll twist the story, call you toxic, obsessive, bitter, but none of it will stick. Because deep down, everyone saw what they did to you. They just never thought you'd come back with receipts and strategy. This isn't revenge porn. This is spiritual retribution. You've turned every scar into a signal, every loss into leverage. And now, you don't need a sword. You are the weapon. People feel your presence like gravity, unavoidable, heavy, unspoken. The same ones who laughed at your silence now mimic your strength. The ones who ghosted you now watch your every move from burner accounts. You've become a living contradiction to their lies, and that eats them alive. Because nothing haunts a manipulator like someone who doesn't need closure. You closed yourself. You rebuilt yourself. You made your pain profitable. Not in money, but in influence, in energy, in how the room changes when you enter it. They used to own the room. Now they suffocate in it. And still, you haven't said a word. Because this isn't about gloating. This isn't about spectacle. This is sacred. This is spiritual alchemy. The transformation of disrespect into dominance. You turned their cruelty into your cathedral, their rejection into your resurrection. They came to destroy you, and all they did was hand you the materials. That's the cruelest part, isn't it? They were architects of their own demise, and now, one by one, they're paying. One by one, they're being reminded. One by one, they're learning what it means to disturb something that had the decency to stay dormant. Because you were never the villain. You were the balance, but balance doesn't beg. Balance doesn't bargain. Balance doesn't blink. It executes. And now, you're not just executing moves. You're executing legacies. You've become the shadow that walks behind their fake smiles, the chill in their warmest days. You don't have to haunt them. They do it to themselves, because you're not just revenge. You're a reminder that disrespect has a shelf life, that not everyone breaks the same way. Some people build, and you built a throne from the ashes they left you in, and now you're sitting on it, calm, still, unshaken, because the haunting isn't over. It's spreading, like smoke through locked doors, like whispers behind closed minds. It doesn't need permission to enter. It seeps, it stains, it settles, the same way they tried to settle your fate, quietly, smugly, permanently. But now you are the fate that knocks at midnight. And no matter how many locks they stack between themselves and consequence, your presence slips through. Without sound, without warning. And this time, there's no undoing it. See, the thing they never understood was that you were never built from convenience. You were built from collapse. They thought if they took everything from you, your peace, your pride, your voice, you'd disappear. They never imagined you'd transform. They thought breaking you would end you. But some people don't break the way others do. Some people shatter inward, and when the dust clears, something ancient awakens. Now they're being hunted by the very silence they tried to drown you in. That cold feeling in their stomach every time your name passes through a room. That's not fear. That's recognition. Recognition of the fact that they lit a fire they can no longer contain. And it's not rage that fuels you now. It's purpose. You've become a curator of karma, and your gallery is filling with their regrets. They don't get to act innocent now. Not when they poured gasoline and struck the match. Not when they thought your downfall would be entertainment. They were so loud in your destruction, but look how quiet they are now. Look how careful they step. How soft their voice becomes when your name dances too close to their guilt. You've infected their decisions, their relationships, their perception. They can't connect anymore, not fully, not honestly, because now every connection carries a question. Will this person destroy me the way I destroyed them? Projection, it's a wicked drug, and they're overdosing on it. Because when you become the echo of everything they tried to silence, they have no option left but to listen. And here's the most poetic part of it all. You didn't have to expose them. They exposed themselves. Every lie, every manipulation, every fake smile they weaponized. Now it all collapses under the weight of reality. People are watching. Eyes are opening. The masks are falling faster than they can replace them. And you don't even speak. You simply exist. That's the new power you wield. You used to think you needed closure. You thought if they just apologized, if they admitted what they did, if they finally acknowledged the storm they unleashed, maybe you'd feel whole again. But no, that was a myth they sold you. The truth is, you didn't need their apology. You needed your awakening, and you got it. Now you move differently. Not from hate, but from clarity. You don't wish them pain. You expect it. Because pain is the invoice for the cruelty they once called justified. You don't chase it. You don't orchestrate it. You simply let the laws of consequence run their course. And now, you're the gravity pulling the pieces back into place. They used to laugh in rooms where your name was mocked. Now they whisper when it's mentioned. They used to walk tall around you. Now they shrink when you're near. They used to think you were beneath them. Now they scan every room, hoping you're not above them. But here's the twist. You're not thinking about them anymore. You're building, you're elevating, you're aligning with a path so far beyond their pettiness, they become background noise. Static. A distant hum behind the music of your momentum, and yet, the haunting remains. Not because you're chasing them, but because their guilt never left. It follows them, wears their face, echoes your silence every time they try to speak. You've become the moment they can't escape. The ghost that walks in their daylight. The shadow that turns every win into a reminder of what they lost. You. Because whether they admit it or not, they miss the access, they miss the presence, they miss the energy they once took for granted, but they can't have it anymore. Because access is a privilege, and they burned that bridge with gasoline and ego. Now all they can do is watch. From behind locked accounts, from mutual circles, from the sidelines of a story they're no longer welcome in. You are no longer the rejected, you are the unreachable, and that burns deeper than any revenge could. They thought they could break you and walk away unscarred. But pain doesn't disappear. It redistributes, it travels, it evolves. It finds them in the moments they least expect, in the stillness, in the quiet, in the empty victories and hollow compliments. That's when it whispers, you should have left them alone. And that whisper, it echoes. Because deep down, they know. They could have stepped back. They could have respected the boundaries. They could have walked away without destruction. But no, they chose chaos. And now, you've mastered it. You became what they feared you would. And beyond that, you became what they could never be. Resilient, unshaken, unstoppable. Not because you won some war, but because you became the war. You no longer participate in drama. You dismantle it by refusing to react. You don't throw punches, you take thrones. And now, here they are, still talking, still reaching, still trying to figure out how you became the headline in a story they tried to erase. But it's too late. The haunting is permanent now. Because you are not a phase. You are not a chapter. You are not a name to be forgotten in a storm of screenshots. You are consequence incarnate. The karmic storm in a calm exterior. The scar they can't scrub off. The outcome they never prepared for. And the final blow? You don't hate them. You don't need them. You simply outgrew them. No explosions, no fanfare, just elevation. And now, the only sound they hear is the silence you left behind. The silence that speaks louder than anything they ever said. They should have left you alone, but they didn't. And now, they pay one by one, harder every time. And you don't look back. You watch them vanish in your rear view. Because ghosts don't chase, they rise. And while they unravel, you unfold. Like a map drawn in suffering but inked in resilience. With every step forward, you redefine the rules. You do not exist to react anymore. You are the event, the standard, the new mythology they whisper about. Your silence? It's not empty. It's strategic. It's the sound of lessons being learned without lectures. It's the mirror they can no longer avoid. They're not haunted by your rage. They're haunted by your absence. The echo of what used to be kind now walks like a verdict in their mind. And no matter how far they run, they only circle back to one truth. You became the storm they laughed at. Now they pray for shelter. But this isn't about vengeance. It's about transcendence. You don't carry wounds. You wear wisdom. You don't chase shadows. You cast them. You don't play the game. You redesigned the board. So let them talk. Let them pretend. Let them keep dancing in their little echo chambers. Because while they speak your name in confusion, you build your legacy in clarity. While they spin stories, you author reality. And the legacy? It lives in your stillness. It breathes in your movement. It echoes every time someone says, "They changed." Because you did. Because you had to. Now you are both the memory and the movement, the storm and the sky, the proof that evolution doesn't need validation, just time and silence. So let it be written. You were the calm, you were the chaos, and now you are the conclusion.